Well, I grew up very aware of my um, Cherokee heritage and being a Cherokee Indian. And I guess from a very early age, I developed a real love of reading and of reading history. And of course, the history that I was most attracted to was Native American history. So I would say from the time that I can remember first reading, which would be about 5 or 6 years old, that has been my greatest inclination in terms of what I read is Native American history. Not to say that I'm not interested in other histories, which I do read. I love history just in general, but Native American history, I would say is, I guess you'd say, is my strong suit. I would say my parents and grandparents, they told me all these stories about the family history and about what happened to the family in terms of dealing with the uh, white settler population. And I might add, a lot of it was fraught with a great deal of tragedy. But it was also fraught with, I guess, from another way of looking at it, the heroism of my family in terms of dealing with very difficult situations that were the result of the conflict between Native American and white people.
And where did you grow up, and then how did you end up in Nashville?
Well, I grew up in Nashville and also in Oklahoma,
Mm.
and I ended up in Nashville because I came here from Arizona with my wife and son. We were living in Tucson, and I still had relatives here in Nashville who have since either died or moved on. But I had a home for myself and my family to live in. There was the resurgence of Native Americans in the area in the sense of you have now yearly powwows in Nashville. You have the Native American Indian Association, which I work closely with, and they have a powwow the third weekend in October of every year. So there's a lot of Indian activity happening in Nashville and in cities across the nation that wasn't happening quite as strongly when I was growing up. But I came back here and moving back to Tennessee, for a lot of us from Oklahoma, it's considered moving back to the homeland because this is the ancient Cherokee homeland. Our land's extended in historic times, or what you might call olden times, all the way to the Tennessee River in West Tennessee. Beyond the Tennessee River was the land of the Chickasaw Nation. But that is to say that with this resurgence of Native American activity and the feeling that this is the homeland and this is where we belong and that's why we moved here. And there also, I might add, there's a Cherokee prophecy that says that all Cherokees are supposed to return to the homeland before the world ends again.
Mm.
So I like to see myself as being a part of fulfilling that prophecy.
Wow. So you talked a little bit about the association that you work with and
Mm.
the powwows. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. The Native American Indian Association, it's been in existence here in Nashville, I guess, since the early 80s. And as a part of their mission to reach out to other Native Americans and also to make the non-Indian society as a whole more aware of the existence of Native American people and Native American culture, they organize a yearly powwow. And I guess now it's been taking place, maybe 30 or almost maybe 40 years.
Mm.
But that is something that everyone in Nashville enjoys. And when the powwow was held the third weekend in October, over that 3-day period, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, anywhere from 16,000 to 20,000 people regularly attend. And the powwow consists of Native American dancing, people dressed in regalia, storytelling, foods, and Native American arts and crafts. So it's something that is for everyone in Nashville, not just Native American people. I am a journalist. I'm a writer, and I write for the American Indian Press. And I cover Native American issues both locally and nationally for the papers that I write for. I write for News from Indian Country. I've written for Oklahoma Indian Times, Indian Country Today, and I also have periodically a column in the Nashville Tennessean every once, 2 months, 3 months, and the like, in which I highlight Native American issues. And also, over the years, I've been sent on assignment by papers that I write for to cover Native American issues in other parts of the country. For one example, when the protest was happening at Standing Rock a couple of years ago, I was sent there to cover that by one of the papers I write for. And a couple of years before that, I was sent, and that was in North Dakota. And a couple of years before that, I was sent to South Dakota to cover an Indian Child Welfare Act crisis that was taking place there. And prior to that, I've been active, I guess right now, over a period of several decades, dealing with the rights of Native American people and also the preservation of Native American burial sites and historic sites. I might also add that I'm an attorney, and I've been an attorney for different tribes in Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Arizona, and I've been the head of Native American legal services organizations, and I've also been a public defender for different tribes over the years.
Wonderful. What are some of the issues that you worked on or have worked on as a lawyer?
Well, dealing with Native American legal services, it covers the entire panoply of legal services that would apply to the non-Indian population. I mean, you cover issues like religious rights, domestic relations, and tribal sovereignty, and fighting to erase discrimination against Native American people. And I've also been involved on the international level. In 1990, I was a delegate to the first Native American 500 Years of Resistance Intercontinental Indian Conference in Quito, Ecuador. And in 1991, I was a delegate to the second American Indian Intercontinental Congress in Quetzaltenango, Guatemala. So I am active here in terms of fighting against racism against Native Americans and letting people know, educating people to what has happened to Native Americans over the years with the goal in mind of edifying people, raising the consciousness of people that this should never happen again, and trying to expand the rights that are exercised by Native American people both locally and nationally.
Why do you think it's important that we educate people about sites like this and about just Native American history in general?
Well, one, to dispel a lot of myths that have been bantered about Native Americans. One of the myths was that this land had a small Indian population, and that we were primarily hunters and gatherers and nomads moving from one place to the other. We had a large, huge settled population. It's estimated now that the population of the United States prior to settlement by Europeans was upwards of 60 million strong. which is a huge, huge population. And in reference to Nashville, in particular, Middle Tennessee in particular, 1,000 years ago, the Middle Tennessee area had the largest Indian population in the entire Southeast. There was an endless panoply of cities, towns, villages, hamlets, all types of settlements of Native Americans. And it's estimated that there were at least 1 million Native American people living in the area of what is now Nashville / Middle Tennessee 1,000 years ago. And we had not just villages, but large cities. Give an example. I was involved in a protest to slow down the building of the new baseball stadium because of the fact that when they first started excavating to build the stadium, they found the remains of a huge, huge Native American city that not only covered the area of where the stadium was built, but in fact all of downtown Nashville was covered by a huge Native American city, and not just on one side of the river, but this huge city actually extended across the river into large sections of what's now East Nashville. So this is something that people need to know, that we had advanced civilizations long before anybody came here. There needs to be an improvement in the educational system in terms of information that is dispensed about Native American people, both in a contemporary sense and in an ancient sense. And I can really appreciate what you're doing here now, because that goes in that direction. And people need to know about the ancient advanced history of Native American people, and people need to know about such things as why we have an Indigenous Peoples Day now in Nashville instead of a celebration of Columbus Day. People need to know about the myth of Thanksgiving, where that the idea was, the belief was, it still is in mainstream society, that Native Americans and Pilgrims sat down and had dinner together. That didn't happen. The Pilgrims didn't eat dinner with the Native Americans. The Pilgrims massacred the Native Americans. And the Declaration of Thanksgiving was made in relationship to a massacre of Pequot Indians in the year 1637. And after that, the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, Governor Bradford, he declared a Thanksgiving, and the Thanksgiving was for the slaughter of Native American men, women, and children. So all this type of education is very, very important, and it needs to be threaded through the educational system all the way from the first grades through middle school, through high school, all the way up through the higher educational system, the college, at the college and university level. So I'd like to add that.